I am Dr. T. Jayalakshmi, working as a professor in the Department of Genetic Engineering, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai 73 is going to handle the course Basics of Bioinformatics, course code U18 PCGE 404, and the topic is Biological Databases. First of all, we will know about biological databases. Biological databases are nothing but the collection of files containing records of biological data in machine-readable form, which can be accessed, added, retrieved, manipulated, and modified. Biological databases are nothing but where we can store our data, and it should be easily accessible, added, and should be retrieved easily by all the researchers. We have to store, manage, connect, and distribute the data evenly, where the data are arranged by the set of rules which are programmed into software that manages the data called Database Management System or DBMS. So DBMS server access a major role in biological databases. Here the data should be arranged by a set of rules which should be programmed. So whatever data we need, we have to get it immediately with the help of this biological databases. So there are different types of biological databases available, and we'll see one by one. And next, classification based on the type. Data storage mainly depends upon three types. First one is primary databases, which contains original data in the form of primary sequence data or structural data, which are submitted by the scientific community. And secondary databases mainly contains more information which has been processed and derived from the raw data available in primary database. Primary database cannot be easily accessible, but we can deposit our original data in the primary database. So in primary database, the data are temporary. We cannot move it as a permanent file because it is having the primary sequence data, and it can be seen by all the scientific community members. But when coming to the secondary databases, the data which we are storing is permanent, and after getting the accession number, we can get the patent also before depositing into the secondary databases. It contains information that has been processed and derived from the raw data available in primary databases. The best example for secondary databases include ProCite, Prince, Blocks, etc. So there are so many differences between primary databases and secondary databases. In primary databases, we can produce the structural data form only, which can be deposited by the scientists and researchers. In secondary databases, we can process the information. We can process the information which we are getting from the primary databases. In primary database, there will be no raw data. But in secondary database, we will be having the more raw data available when comparing to the primary databases. And with the help of these databases like ProCite, Protein Information Resource, Prince, Blocks, we can able to classify the types of data which are stored in the primary and secondary databases. And the third one is composite databases. It is completely different from primary and secondary databases. In the composite databases, we can collect and present data after comparing and filtering them from different primary databases and exhibit only the non-redundant sequences. So in primary and secondary databases, we'll be having some error data and some mismatching data and the repeated data. But it has to be filtered by the composite databases. And in composite databases, we have to collect and present the data after comparing and filtering them from different primary databases, which can exhibit only the non-redundant sequences. So there should not be any repetition or repetitive sequences present in the composite databases. First one is primary databases. Where we are using these primary databases includes nucleic acid databases, protein sequence databases, protein structure databases, and metabolic databases. So we are using a variety of primary databases in different forms. So in nucleic acid databases, example include GenBank, EMBL, and DDBJ. And the second one is protein sequence databases, which includes Protein Information Resource, SwissProt, and UniProt. Protein Information Resources is having the data of all important protein sequences. What are the amino acid sequence or protein sequences we need? We can get it from the Protein Information Resource database, and SwissProt can also be available, and UniProt can also be available to identify the particular protein sequence databases. Third one is PDB, protein database, which comes under protein structure database. And KEGG is the important one, which can be used to analyze the biochemical pathways. We can analyze the biochemical pathways like Krebs cycle, uric acid cycle, glycolysis cycle by using this KEGG software. So what are all the energy metabolites we needed for producing the glycolysis cycle or Krebs cycle? We can get the data from the KEGG databases. It is otherwise called as metabolic databases. So in metabolic engineering, we can study the different pathways available for the biomolecules. So on the same way, we can get the biomolecule composite databases by using this metabolic database. Next one is nucleotide sequence database. In nucleotide sequence database, it is mainly composed of a group of nucleotide sequence entries. We have to get the entries which is in the accessible manner. It should not be repeated anywhere. And then we have to deposit in the data repository. After getting the accession number, this data repositories accept nucleic acid sequence data and makes it freely available to the public. So after freely available to the public, anybody can take our data and they can access our data. So main examples include GenBank, European Molecular Biology Laboratory, and DDBJ. So GenBank, EMBL, and DDBJ are the principal nucleotide databases available for nucleotide sequence database. And then important one is the International Nucleotide Sequence Database Consortium, which is called as INSDC, which can interchange our data. So all the three are members of the International Nucleotide Sequence Database Consortium, and it can interchange data based upon the nucleotide sequence databases. So we can get the information of in GenBank by using this NCBI. NCBI is situated at the campus of United States National Institute of Biotechnological Information. So it is hosted by National Center for Biotechnology Information, and it is situated in the campus of US National Institute of Health, USA. It offers GenBank, which can be publicly available nucleotide sequences, their protein translation, and their annotated information is available in that. It can also facilitate direct submission of sequence data by a user-friendly process. When compared to other databases, NCBI is the very important one where we can retrieve more amount of data, because it is the one database which is publicly available. So it can provide all nucleotide sequences, protein translation process, transcription process, and the annotated information. So what kind of gene is causing the particular disease, and we can get lakhs and lakhs of nucleotide sequences for the single species. So if you are taking a plant species, means if you are searching a single plant species, we can able to get lakhs and lakhs of the gene sequences. So what are all the gene sequences we need? We can get it from the NCBI. It also facilitates the direct submission of sequence data. So there is no repository like that. We can directly go to the website and we can easily submit our sequence and the data. And it is also a user-friendly process. Researchers from anywhere can submit the data to GenBank. An accession number is given to the submitted sequence and then released to the public database after the quality assurance check. And after getting the quality assurance check, the information can be retrieved using the Entrust retrieval system. Entrust is the campus of EMBL, so European Molecular Biology Laboratory. So by using this European Molecular Biology Laboratory, we can retrieve the information using this Entrust retrieval system. And we can access the data in NCBI over the internet through the site http www.ncba.nlm.nih.gov GenBank. So if you go to this website, it will take to the home page. So in the home page, what are all the sequences we need? We can get it by giving the accession number or name of the particular plant, animal or human species. So here you can see the home page of GenBank. In home page of GenBank, coming to the overview of GenBank, it is having many NCBI locations like PubMed, Entrust, BLAST, OMIME, books, taxonomy, structure. So whatever we need the information from the particular database, we can get it through NCBI. So we have to search the Entrust. So whatever we need, if you want to go for PubMed, we have to search PubMed. Or we want to know the taxonomy of any particular plant, we have to go click the taxonomy. And then we can go for the elegans. EAT4 elegans is the search site where we can put our information and we can go. So GenBank is the NIH National Information Healthcare Genetic Sequence Database, and it is an annotated collection of all publicly available DNA sequences. So it can be seen in the Journal of Nucleic Acid Research in 2004. There are approximately, so we can see more than 37 lakhs of databases in 32 lakhs for 549,400 sequences recorded as of February 2004. So we can view the record of GenBank growth statistics. So we can see till now in 2021, we will be having more databases available in this GenBank. And then it is called as GenBank growth statistics. So for example, if you view the record of the yeast Saccharomyces cerevisiae gene, we can get the complete set of complete release of the particular yeast, or any other species we need, we can get the complete set of genome by using this NCBI software. So it is currently available, and also we can easily retrieve the gene sequences from this site. And the second important one is DNA Data Bank of Japan, which is called as DDBJ. DDBJ started in 1986, hosted now at National Institute of Genetics, Japan. It is organized and supported by the National Institute of Genetics, Japan, and it gathers data mainly from scientists in Japan and from researchers all over the world. It can also share nucleotide sequence data with GenBank and EMBL. So about 99% of the nucleotide data in INSDC submitted by Japanese researchers through DDBJ and enhances the quality of INSDC. This type of data bank can be used only by the Japanese people, Japanese researchers in starting stage. But after it gets developing, many researchers from various parts of the world can deposit their data in this DDBJ. And it enhances the quality of Indian National Science Database Center, and it includes details of sequences, submitted details. We have to give all the details, and they will create one data bank in our name. So after they are creating the data bank, we will be getting the accession number and what are the sequences we are depositing. So it should be authenticated. So after authenticated by the particular researchers or team members of the database DNA data bank of Japan, we will be getting the information, and then we have to submit all these details like details of sequences we are giving, and submit as details, biological significance, and the scientific name and taxonomy of the particular organism. In addition, features that identify coding region, transcription units, mutation sites, etc. are also displayed in the future table. So apart from this, major activities of the DNA data bank of Japan includes internationally recognized accession numbers to sequences. When comparing to other databases, in DDBJ, we'll get the internationally recognized accession number, and then we'll be having the bioinformatics database management and developing tools for the analysis and visualization of biological data, and also conducting course for beginners to reduce the complexity in the biological data analysis. So DDBJ is also giving some practice for the new biological data analysis team. So how to deposit the data and how to retrieve the various data by using the home page http www.ddbj.nag.ac.jp. So if we can go to this website, it will get into the home page of the DDBJ. So here, many advantages are there by using this DDBJ, because it is giving internationally recognized accession numbers to our particular sequences, and we can also manage the bioinformatics database, and it can used as a developing tool for the analysis and visualization of biological data. So we can visualize the 2D structure, 3D structure, and quaternary structure of the various protein sequences also, and it is also some producing some placement program also for the newcomers, and we can access through the homepage. In this diagram, you can see the home page of DNA Data Bank of Japan. So it is entirely different from the NCBI. So in NCBI, we can have nucleotide, PubMed, OMIME, and literature survey. What are all their needs? We can see it in NCBI. But in DDBJ, we'll be having the codes. That is, what are the codes available for that? And then sequences data submission. And we'll be having more options like submit my sequences. And also, they are giving the orientation program for the beginners. So here you can see the orientation for the data submission, and you can update my entries. It will give the guidance for the update of the entry. So in the right hand side, we can see the web applications like FTP. It will give the that is the protocols will give the download the data files, and web API will give the programming interfaces of DDBJ web services. So in this homepage, we can see all the DNA, whatever we need, accession number for DNA, protein, taxonomy, and OMIME databases. We can see it in the DNA Data Bank of Japan. And the next one is EMBL database, which is called as European Molecular Biology Laboratory Nucleic Acid Database, first established in 1974. It is produced with the collaboration of EMBL, European Bioinformatics Institute, which is hosted at UK. Like DDBJ and NCBI, EMBL is a non-profit research institution supported by 20 European countries and Australia for molecular biology research. EMBL collects nucleotide sequence data from individual researchers, genome sequence projects, and patent application. So if you want to apply for a patent, or we need a sequence data from the individual researchers. So in NCBI and DDBJ, we can't get the individual researchers' contact number, but we can get the contacts through this EMBL databases of the individual researchers, and we can do with the, if you are signing the MOU with them, we can go for the genome sequence projects and patent applications. And EMBL differs from NCBI and DDBJ, where the sequences are stored in this database as they would exist in the biological state. And the data storage corresponds to the wild type sequences without mutation or genetic manipulation. In this, you can see the link of that is in this slide. You can see the link of EMBL database. You can access through the URL http www.ebi.ac.uk/EMBL. Because it is having the collaboration with European Molecular Biology Laboratory, we can see the non-profit research institution which can be supported by more than 20 European countries where they are doing molecular biology and recombinant DNA technology research. So if we click that URL, it will take you to the EMBL homepage. Here in EMBL homepage, you can see the European Bioinformatics Institute, the homepage for the big data in biology. When compared to NCBI and DDBJ, EMBL homepage will provide the home for big data in biology, and we can use bioinformatics, which is the science of storing, sharing, and analyzing biological data, which helps people everywhere to understand how living systems work and what makes them change. So in this search, we can find a gene, protein, or any chemical, and exploring the EMBL or EBI is having many items like services, research, training, industry, elixir. Like DDBJ, it is also providing training for the young budding researchers and also the students from various institutions. And the fourth one is protein sequence databases. So in protein sequence databases, it is an array of amino acid sequence entries arranged accordingly to the identification number. It mainly depends upon the identification number of accession number. And in this protein sequence database, well-known protein sequence databases are available on World Wide website, which is called as World Wide Web, like SwissProt, Protein Information Resources, and UniProt. So these three are the main protein sequence databases where we can get the motif sequences. So motif sequences are nothing but the functional form of the protein. So if there are coding regions and non-coding regions are there, coding regions are called as introns and the non-coding regions are called as exons. So if you're combining any two proteins, the introns are joined together, which forms the functional area, and exons are forming the non-functional area, and it will be spliced during by mRNA splicing technique. So these introns are the functional units, and we are inducing the functional units to go for the translation process. So during translation process, there will be the production of motifs, which is called as the functional area of the particular protein. And this type of motifs can be analyzed using this World Wide Web called as SwissProt, Protein Information Resources, and UniProt. First one is SwissProt. SwissProt is developed by the Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics and also by the European Bioinformatics Institute, which is called as EBI. It is the high quality, manually annotated protein sequence database created in 1986. So it is the first databases used for the predicted protein sequences. It also provides high-level annotations with functions of protein and post-transcriptional modification. It can provide all known relevant information about a particular protein, and it consists of two sections. One is UniProt KB or SwissProt, which is manually annotated. So in this case, we can be manually annotating the motif region by using this UniProt, and it is reviewed under UniProt KB or TREMBL, which is automatically annotated or not reviewed. So there are two sections available. So in UniProt and KB and SwissProt, the sequences are manually annotated and it is reviewed by the researchers or any scientist. But when coming to the next section, UniProt KB comparing with the TR-EMBL, transcriptional EMBL, which is automatically annotated, but it cannot be reviewed by any researchers or students. So we can see the home page by clicking this http www.expacit.ch for Sprott, which is called as takes you to the Sprott home page. So here you can see the Sprott home page. Sprott home page is having the combination with Expacit tool. So Expacit tool is having the two steps, Sprott and TR-EMBL, identified by the Microsoft Internal Explorer, and it is giving the just like Sprott protein knowledge base, TR-EMBL, and computer annotated supplement to Sprott. So Sprott is a curated protein sequence database which strives to provide a high level of annotation, like description of the function of a protein, its domain structure, post-translational modification, variants, etc. And it provides a minimal level of redundancy and high level of integration with other databases. So like it will give more details like references, linking to Sprott user manual, recent changes, commercial uses, or disclaimer. So you can click it, and whatever details we need, we can see it in that. And then in TR-EMBL, it is a computer annotated supplement of Sprott, which contains all the translations of EMBL nucleotide sequence entries not yet integrated in Sprott. So these databases are developed by the Sprott groups at SIB and EBI. So UniProt release 2.2 consists of Sprott release and also the TR-EMBL release, which is having more than 15 lakh entries, and more than 1 crore entries are available in TR-EMBL. So the main property of Sprott homepage is the annotation. So if there is any repetition in any gene sequences, we can easily predictable with the help of this Sprott homepage. And SRS includes access to Sprott, TR-EMBL, and other databases using the sequence retrieval system. And a full text search can also be done by using Sprott and TR-EMBL, and advanced search in Sprott and TR-EMBL by description, gene name, and organism can be used to create HTML links to Sprott or TR-EMBL. Next one is PIR, which is used for the protein isolation, protein sequence determination. PIR includes Protein Information Resource Database, established in 1984 by National Biomedical Research Foundation, NBRF. It is an integrated public bioinformatics resource that supports genomic and proteomic research and scientific studies. Mainly, it assists researchers in the identification of, in interpretation of protein sequence information. PIR can be searched for entries or sequence similarity searches. So there will be no annotation in the annotation in using this protein information resources, and it can be downloaded at http www.pir.georgetown.edu. So it offers a variety of resources, mainly oriented to assist the propagation and standardization of protein annotation. So we can do the annotation process of proteins, and protein sequencing methods can also be done by using this protein information resources. And also we can predict the structure of primary proteins, like primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structures of protein can also be available. And we can see the metabolic pathways also. Like I already discussed, we can use the KEGG pathway, KEGG software for identification of metabolic pathways of various proteins. And also we can see the 3D structure like Ramachandran plot by using this protein information resources. So this is the home page of PIR, protein information resource, where we can see all the information regarding the proteomics techniques. And the next one is UniProt. UniProt means it provides a comprehensive, high and freely accessible resource of protein sequence. Here in UniProt, the entries are derived from genome sequencing projects. The UniProt consortium comprises the European Bioinformatics Institute and Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics and the Protein Information Resources. So UniProt comprises of three main institutes like European Bioinformatics Institute, the Swiss Institute of Bioinformatics, and the Protein Information Resources. UniProt is composed of four components, each optimized for different uses. So I said there are four components of UniProt, which is easily optimized for different uses. And the components include, first one is UniProt knowledge base. UniProt is an extensive curated plant protein information with two sections, which is called as UniProt KB or SwissProt. It is manually annotated and reviewed. But when coming to the UniProt KB with TREMBL, which is automatically annotated but not reviewed. So the second one is UniProt reference clusters, which is called as UniRef. And the third one is UniProt archive, UniPark. And the fourth one is UniProt metagenomic and environmental sequences, which is called as UniMIS. So these four components comprises the a complete set of knowledge regarding the protein sequences. So this is the home page of UniProt. In a UniProt homepage, there will be different services available like UniRef, UniPark, Proteomes, and what all the UniProt data we need. And we can get the review of literature by using the SwissProt and TREMBL. So in UniProt KB, SwissProt consists of more than 5 lakh data, and TREMBL is having more than 90 lakh data. Next one is protein structure databases. So apart from using this protein information resources, we can go for the particular databases which exhibit a evolutionary origin, shows structural similarities. So we can identify the molecular evolution and phylogeny of the particular plant or animal species by using this protein structure databases. And we can see the taxonomy of the particular species of our origin. And then we can, with the help of softwares, we can do the docking methods. For docking methods, we can use online softwares. Free softwares are available like Autodoc and PatchDoc. So by using this Autodoc and PatchDoc, we can do the phylogenetic analysis and tree formation, and the dendrogram can also be plotted by using this protein structure database. So dissimilar proteins exhibit changes in primary, secondary, tertiary, predicted with structural databases, and these databases store a collection of three-dimensional structures of proteins. Next one is protein data bank. This is the important one for identifying the shape of a protein molecule. It understands the shape of the molecule and also helps to work with the other protein molecules. It is the main primary database used for the prediction of 3D structures of proteins and nucleic acids. And the single worldwide archive of structural data is Protein Data Bank. It is maintained by the Research Collaboratory for Structural Bioinformatics, RCSB, and the data obtained from X-ray crystallography and NMR spectroscopy are submitted to the PDB. So in PDB also we can see the primary, secondary, and tertiary quaternary structure of the particular proteins by using the X-ray crystallography and NMR spectroscopy. Then these structures are annotated as per the depositor specifications. So it is the freely available and accessed through URL http www.pdb.org. So this is the home page of PDB. It is the main resource for studying the biological macromolecules. And with the help of this PDB, we can do the model organism data. So model organism data are called organism specific data, which describes genome and other information about well-studied experimental organisms in life sciences. It can store large amount of data and allow users to analyze results and interpret data sets and data they generated, which is the organism of their own interest. Example include Flybase, database of Drosophila melanogaster. SGD indicates the Saccharomyces genome database. AGR is the Arabidopsis genome resource for plants, and we can go for the humans as HGP, like Human Genome Project, and RGD for rat genome database. So this kind of databases are used to model all the organisms, including flies, Saccharomyces yeast, plant species, human species, and also the animal species like rat. So it is very useful to analyze the database of all model organisms, and we can get the databases of all the model organisms used in the particular experiment. And the last one is biodiversity database. Biodiversity database plays a major role in biological databases. It provides information on the biodiversity of a particular plant, animal, or plants or a human species, and also of the comprises of the living organisms. They may store genus level information, species level information, information on nomenclature, or any combination of the three. So species up to 2000 are recorded in the biodiversity databases. This type of biodiversity databases are established in September 1994 by the International Union of Biological Sciences, IUBS, in cooperation with the Committee on Data for Science and Technology, CODATA, and the International Union of Microbiological Sciences, IUMS. It is having collaboration with many International Union of Biological Sciences, and it is a federation of database organizations working closely with users, taxonomists, and sponsoring agencies. It plans to create an array of participant global species databases covering each of the major groups of organisms like plants, animals, fungi, and microbes. So the main goal of biodiversity database is to get the species 2000, and also to provide a uniform and validated quality index of names of all known species, which can be used as a practical tool in the bioinformatics. Thank you.